This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to King of the Hill podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
Rusty, we are at home.
Yeah, it's a special home episode. Don't try this at home, folks.
Yeah, no kidding. I do appreciate you doing this. You're doing it for me, but I think it's probably helping you out, too. You broke your arm.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win situation for us, I believe.
Yeah. You broke your arm, and then my wife had some major surgery on Friday, and so I don't really want to leave the house and leave her here. I'm kind of trying to figure out whether I'm going to do that tomorrow or not either. But anyway.
As a responsible husband should do.
I tried. Well, she was here for me for the same surgery, so
okay. So
I got to return.
Right.
I got to return the favor. She's taking such good care of me. All right, we are at season 6, episode 4, which is 6ABE04, which lines up for the first time in a very long time. The number of the episodes line up. This is the Father, the Son, and JC from December 16th, 2001. Yeah, and it is funny to me how at the end of this thing that he becomes more like JC than JC. So it's
absolutely. And I've been on a kick lately. So for the last, I don't know, probably 2 weeks since I've been recently injured and not doing anything, I started watching movies with actors who act or presidents. You know what I mean? So I've seen Tom Selleck as Dwight D. Eisenhower. I've seen what was another one?
Well, if I was picking an Eisenhower, I'd certainly go Tom Selleck.
It was good. It was actually a really good movie. Yeah, it was really good. I thought it was going to be cheesy and corny, but it was actually a really good movie. And then Josh Brolin as George W. Bush. He should have got an Oscar for that. That was amazing.
There's a buttload of people in that movie too.
Oh yeah, that whole movie's pretty studded. Yeah. I watched Vice earlier too with Christian Bale as Dick Cheney. That was pretty good. So I've been on this president kick. So this episode kind of fits it well because Jimmy Carter might have been the most honest, if you could say a word about a politician, he might have been one of the most honest politicians and just general overall good human beings that we've had for the president in the last 200 years.
That's why he served one term.
Yeah, for sure.
God forbid we have that in politics.
Because I mean, he appealed to the Southern guy as a Southern. He is the Southern peanut farmer, and then he appealed to the better sensibilities of the other party. So I don't know. I liked him. I thought he was a good dude.
Well,
he's still with us though, so he's not dead yet. He's close though.
I thought he was dead. I thought you and I covered it when he died.
No, I think he's close to death. I don't think he's dead.
Oh, really?
Is he?
Oh, okay.
I think he's close. I think what we did is his son had came out and said that his dad was on death's door, but they've been saying that for like 8 months. So he's a fighter.
99 years old. Wow. Okay.
He's a fighter. Shout out to President Jimmy Carter. Yeah.
He'll be 100 years old in October 1st.
We need more men like him.
Yeah, I agree. I think at the time, I can remember my dad not liking him, but my dad was like a staunch Republican, and my dad was not quite Cotton, but a lot more Hank in that regard, especially at the end of this where they start talking about Jimmy as he leaves. So anyway, and who again? It was who was doing his voice? It wasn't Carter. It was
Jimmy Carter's voice in this movie. The TV show was done by
I think it's Huss. Right?
I want to say David Herman. It was David.
Herman. David Herman. Yeah, it's either
which he does a lot. He does a lot of voices.
Those odd voices. It's either David Herman or Toby Huss. One or the other.
Yeah, if it's not Mike Judge himself, he does a couple of odd voices throughout.
All right, so this bit not being a beginning or an end, we get no bell, no yell. We start at the Arlen Mall. There's a big old Christmas tree outside, so this is weird that we're doing this in June, but that's all right. And there's a big sign that says Meet Santa down at the bottom of it. We go inside the mall, and we go into Renovation Hardware. We've got Hank, Peggy, Bobby, and Dee Dee in there, and I'm not real sure how this foursome got together to go to the mall together.
Yeah, it's an odd group.
It is a weird group. So Hank and Peggy are kind of looking through the stuff on the walls, and he picks up something and says, Russian hand crank flashlight, Nancy Drew books. What kind of hardware store is this? Bobby comes running up and says, Dad, the world's best hammer. Holds it up to him, and he goes, Sears already sold me the world's best hammer, so someone's lying. And he just walks off.
I got a quick artifact for the Sears thing. So the Sears Craftsman brand began in 1927 with the registration of the Craftsman trademark.
Yeah.
That's as much as I know about it.
I
know that if you broke your tools back in the day, if you broke a Craftsman and you went to Sears, they would replace it, no questions asked, whatever tool you broke.
I worked at Sears for a while, probably about 5 or 6 years. And in my world, that's a while. I worked here in Waco a couple of different times. And then I worked at 1 or 2 different ones in Austin when I moved there. Here,
did you work at the one on 18th or the one on the mall?
No, the one at the mall. Yeah. Mall. Yeah. So the one at the mall, I worked, it was, I started off in paint. So I was the guy who put in the colors and put it in the shaker. And of course, everybody wanted to put things that weren't paint in the shaker.
Always.
And I'm not saying that we didn't, but, and then I moved over to hardware, which is right across the aisle. And so I sold Craftsman stuff for a very long time. And we would get so many returns, Rusty. I mean, so many. I
imagine that was most of your thing. It was kind of funny. There was a video I saw earlier today of a woman who had a car from the 60s and she still drives it. It's got like 500,000 miles on it. But her thing was, and I'm going to blame it on this generation for ruining warranties. She had 13 free batteries in the lifespan of this car over the 30, 40 years that she owned it. And they were all through Sears' warranty department. So she had like all of these things that she was getting for free done. And the car was like immaculate for the mileage that she had on it. But again, she just used all these Sears warranties to get the car completely maintained for free from the day she bought it till the day she's still driving it. So
we would have like a big old bin that we would probably roll back to the back 3 times a day, just full of old wrenches and hammers and all the shit that people would bring back. And we were right on the other side of the wall from the automotive folks and the little cafeteria, which was very special. And I would go over there and talk to the automotive guys all the time. And every other customer was coming in for something free. But the thing about Sears is they screwed up when they let other people license the Craftsman brand. That's when I think their big demise came. Otherwise, I think they'd still be around.
Even with the unlimited warranty thing?
Yeah. Because more often than not, whenever somebody brought something back, you'd sell them 1 or 2 more things.
I got you. So they come in to replace the wrench and buy 3 more wrenches just because.
Yeah, because they lost a socket or, whatever, that sort of thing. So, we ended up selling a buttload of hardware. And when I first got there, we were working on commission. So,
you were,
I would upsell a hammer all day long. So Bobby says it's the world's best hammer. Hank says, nope, Sears already sold me one, and he walks off. Bobby says, I say we just get him a gift certificate. Peggy says, oh, that's a great idea, Bobby. We'll give your father, who worked so hard to conceive you, the same thing we give the paper boy who did nothing. Okay, is it odd to you that she points out conceiving? Not
that's pretty odd, yeah.
Dee Dee, of course, always effervescent Dee Dee says, I'm lucky. Cotton is so easy to shop for. Either he likes what I get him and he's happy, or he hates it and he shoots it and he's happy. And she's holding like a little angel Cupid figurine. So God bless that little angel.
Shoot it, yeah.
Oh, God bless that little angel. It's going to get shot. All right. So Hank and Cotton are talking in another part of the store. Cotton has GH strapped to his front, which is always weird to me.
It's kind of funny because he's almost as big as he is. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When he's taking care of the baby, it seems like an odd thing. He says, Cotton starts with, it's the first Christmas dinner in my new apartment, so you better bring a Christmas gift, housewarming gift, and a chair if you want to sit down. I love that there's only enough chairs for the people who live there. That you gotta bring your own chair.
It's probably all folding chairs.
And of course, Hank being Hank, no problem. I got some that fold. Now, how about I buy you an ornament? And he hands him an ornament, and it just says the word peace on it. Not a great move in Cotton's world. Cotton says, peace? You'd like that, wouldn't you, you draft dodger? Sure can't find one with a flag burning on it. He goes, it's Jesus peace, not hippie peace. Love that quote.
I like that too. That's a good line.
Love that quote. Cotton says, either way, we've always been a joy family. He goes, and then his beeper starts going off, and Cotton just, joy. He goes,
joy.
He looks at his beeper, and he goes, I gotta go, Dad. There's a propane emergency at the police station. And then he just runs off. And Cotton, of course, being an asshole, says, oh, everyone out of the way. The assistant lackey's on the move. Never been promoted. And then Hank comes running back into frame and says, I'm proud to serve as assistant manager, and Buck will promote me when I'm good and ready. It's been 20 years. We find out later that he's been assistant manager.
A long time. Like, he hasn't been anything else. I don't think he's been anything else. He was a tank wipe probably for a little while, and then boom, straight to doing that.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're at the Arlen police station. Hank pulls up and he runs in. Hank Hill, Strickland Propane, responded to the propane emergency. He comes in and there's like 3 cops, and they're all just like sitting around playing cards with feet up on the desk, all this stuff. Cop goes, there's your emergency, and points over at the drunk tank. And of course, there's old Buck sleeping it off in the drunk tank. Yep. He goes up to him, Mr. Strickland, how did you get locked in there? DWI, Hank, blew an 0-2. It was just a couple of three eggnogs. Hell, that shouldn't count, seeing as how it's Christmas and all. He says, but why would you call in a false propane emergency? We're looking at a $50 fine once I report us.
I've got a bartender thing from Artie here about eggnog. So a 3-3 eggnog is he had 2/3 booze to 3 eggnog ratio. Eggnog is supposed to be made 1 booze to 5 nog. So
well, I thought that he was saying he had 3 eggnogs, but I think you're right. I think he was filling it up mostly with booze and just a little bit of eggnog.
Just a little flavor. A little egg flavoring.
That sounds about right. He says we're looking at a $50 fine once I report us, which is that's Hank
insane.
In a nutshell right there. Yeah. Buck says, I needed a sober ride, Hank. They took away my license. Who wants to buy propane from some no license castrato? I don't know what a castrato is. I can
tell you.
I'm assuming
I know exactly what it is.
Castrated, but go.
Okay, so the Roman Catholic Church, for their massive choirs they used to have big, huge, like ornate choirs, and they would have a group of boys that they would cut their balls off before puberty so that they could never because they needed a castrato. It was a particular, like you've got the tenor and all that stuff. You have castrato, which was the highest range that you could hit. So girls couldn't participate in church in that way. So what they would do is they would just take boys, cut their balls off, and their chests wouldn't develop properly. So they would never have their voice drop. So they would have like these bird chests and these light, like brittle bones and stuff. So the last one, and they actually have a recording that you could listen to of it. The last castrato was in like the late 1800s. So this guy doing the recording is like in his 50s or 60s at the time that they record it, but they recorded in the 30s. So like he's like the last one ever that has any recording, but it's out there if you guys want to go check it out. It's pretty neat to listen to, I guess.
Make sure that you open up an incognito tab before you start searching for castrato.
Yeah, you don't know what you're gonna find.
Hank says, "Tell you what, sir, why don't you let me drive you around? I like to drive. You like to sit. Everybody wins." Next, he's in there driving Buck around, but Buck is passed out in the back seat. He looks up and goes, "You drive nice, Hank." He goes, I pretend the gas pedal's an egg.
I like that. That's pretty funny. Yeah.
He goes, pull over. Now I remember where I was going. They pull over to a Christmas tree shop, I guess, whatever it is, Christmas tree lot. Yeah. Hank gets out and he's like handling the tree. He's looking at it for Buck. Not sure that Buck asked him to qualify the tree for him, but he is.
Yeah.
He goes, yep. Douglas makes a good fur. And then one of the creepiest things I've ever seen Hank do, he tastes the sap in the tree.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that with a tree, like
And
especially with pine sap. I mean, I'm sure there's a food component of pine sap to use,
Sure.
but I'm not sure that I'm just going to be licking raw pine sap off. It's not like it's maple, you know what I mean?
Right. And all I ever think of is Pine Sol. You know, I mean, I know it's not that, but still.
But still, yeah.
Yeah. He tastes it and he goes, "This is your tree." Like he's just made this
This is your tree. Yeah.
This is your tree. She's a beaut, Hank. How are you fixed for ornaments? And then he hands him a peace ornament, just like he did to his dad. Buck looks at it and goes, "Peace, huh?" And just kind of pats him on the back. This makes Hank very happy to an nth degree. I mean, he is very, very happy now. And we've seen basically Buck just take over his dad, you know, because I think he's always thought of him as his dad anyway. His dad is just a pain in the ass.
Well, I think both of them are a pain in the ass. It's a different dynamic, I think, that he has with them. And it's a similar dynamic because he likes to be, I don't think he likes to be berated, but he feels like there's no intrinsic transaction with him and his dad, with his dad berating him. But at least when Mr. Strickland berates him, he's still the assistant manager and still like gets a paycheck kind of thing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, if you are happier with Buck being your dad, you got a bad dad.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, so they're driving away. There's 2 trees strapped to the top of the truck. Thanks again for the tree, Mr. Strickland. Of course, in a way, every year you buy me a tree. You know, the paychecks.
Yeah, that's your money, but not his. You earned that.
Buck says, "No, it's the least I can do. You may be driving me all over creation. Judge says I ain't getting my license back till I do my community service. Got to build some house for Jimmy Carter." Hank's eyes kind of widen. He goes, "You get to build a Habitat for Humanity house for drunk driving? I've been on the waiting list for 2 years." Buck, you see it immediately come to Buck's brain. His eyes get real shifty. He gets an idea. And I just wrote down "shitty Buck" because he goes, "I tell you what, old top, how'd you like it if I made you assistant manager of building this house?" And Hank's like, "Oh, you mean it? Well, thank you, sir." "No, thank you." And then now we're in the alley with all 4 guys. It's obviously cold. Everybody's got a jacket on, which you don't see in King of the Hill very often.
Too often. It is a Christmas episode, though. So
yeah, absolutely. Hank says, "And long story short, Mr. Strickland tells me I can build the house." And Bill's like, "He did not." He goes, "He did, Bill. Why would I make it up?" He goes, "I don't know. Sometimes I lie to get attention." I just love that about Bill actually admitting that. Hank says, "You want to help me or not?" Everybody's like, "Yeah, man. Yeah, wingo." And then Dale, of course, who doesn't have many lines in this one. "I'd like to volunteer to be in charge of booby traps." Dale, there will be no booby traps. He goes, "What?" "Oh, right." And then he lifts his glasses, you know, those kind that lift inside the frame. And he goes, wink. He goes, "Gotcha, Hank. No booby traps." So obviously Dale's going to build some booby traps. Now we're at the Hill house, and you can tell it's Christmas because everything looks exactly the same, except there's some Christmas lights on the house.
There's some Christmas lights, yeah.
Pretty much how Christmas goes here in Texas. Very few of us get snow or a white Christmas or anything like that.
There is one famous house. I've seen them on like some like light competition, like national light competition. I can't remember where the house is, but somewhere here in town. I know they do it every year. Yeah, I want to say it's like on Sanger Avenue somewhere or something, but they do a massive light thing in their front yard.
It's probably like that house that has the big concrete monkey in its yard, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, everybody knows where it's at and all that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at the Hill house with Christmas lights on it. Hank says, "Groundbreaking's day after tomorrow. Man, I wish I could go to bed right now and wake up in 2 days with a shovel in my hand." This is in the dining room, by the way, with Hank, Peggy, and Bobby. Bobby looks over and goes, "Mom." She says, "Yeah, shovel for Christmas." So just the fact that he said the word shovel means they're going to get him a shovel for Christmas. So that's Hank's got to be a little tough to buy for, kind of like my dad was with tools. He's got it all. right? Like,
Yeah, you've got it all.
It would have to be like a brand. And I will tell you, this is when working at Sears came in handy, because anytime a new tool came out, some kind of reiteration of something that already exists, oh, I'm buying one of those because that's what I'm giving, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He goes, you know what? I'm too excited to eat. I think I'll grab one of my shovels and practice on Bill's yard. I mean, just going to start digging holes in Bill's yard.
Tearing his yard up.
Lucky for Bill, the doorbell rings. He goes to the door, opens it up. It's Cotton with a shotgun in his hand. He goes, come on, Hank, let's go shoot us a Christmas tree. He goes, well, Dad, I love to yell ready, aim, timber, but this year Mr. Strickland bought me a tree. Cotton kind of looks through the door. He sees that beautiful tree. He gets a little teary-eyed.
Yeah, he does.
But then real quickly, he gets very angry. And he goes, but we always, only a man with a narrow urethra would think that skinny stick was a tree. And then he leaves. Bobby comes.
This is a heavy hitter from Bobby, a real heavy, like a real deep, thoughtful response.
Bobby, still at the dinner table, says, too bad we can't get Dad a new dad for Christmas.
Whew.
God almighty.
That's
Peggy,
a tough one, yeah.
Peggy, of course, always with a plan. Or can we? Bobby, I have turned your terrible idea into a brilliant one. The best present for your father would be a healthy relationship with his father, one where they can express their real feelings for each other. And conveniently, I can get the same thing for Cotton. Dee Dee gets her bath gel like always, and I'm done. Because it's all about Peggy. That's what it's about.
Always about Peggy.
All about Peggy. And even more so with this last thing, Bobby says, can I put my name on it? She goes, I'll put your name on it. I mean, she won't even let freaking Bobby put his name on the damn gift.
That's rough. Crazy. That's rough.
All right. So now we're outside. They're watching Cotton get in the car, which he's having a struggle, which you got to figure if you got no shins, you got to struggle getting in your car most of the time. Peggy says, Hank, why don't you invite your father to the groundbreaking? Hank says, because I already know his answer. No, followed by an insult. She says, oh, so now you're a psychic.
I like that. That's a really funny line to me. I already know his answer. No, followed by an insult.
She says, oh, so now you're a psychic. Oh, Cotton, Hank has something to tell you. Did you see that coming? I mean, what a shit.
That's terrible.
Such a shitty person.
She is awful. She's got to be one of the most awful people on the show.
Hank says, Dad, if you're not doing anything Thursday, well, we're having this groundbreaking ceremony for this house I'm building for charity. Charity? Only charity I care about dances in a G-string, and I'm spending the day with her.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Hank says, well, it's just, you spent my birthday with her. And he's like the sad Charlie Brown walking off, Cotton, for the first time I've ever seen, gets a little like guilt, and his
first time. Yeah. I like when you see these pangs of humanity in him. I imagine war kind of ruined him.
Oh, sure. Well, that and being an asshole. But you see kind of his lip tremble and he goes, okay, I'll go. You win. If I wanted to see a big baby cry, I'd go home to my baby. Cry, baby. And Hank gets very happy and Cotton drives off. That is the best interaction he's had with his dad in a very long time. By the way, you want to say something about
doing? So everybody knows by now, if you watch the show, I love Mexican Cokes. I buy them by the pallet at Sam's Club. It's like my probably my worst vice. I buy them by the pound. I buy by the pallet. I buy like the pallet of I think it's like 25 or 30 that come in or whatever, 24. But the Alamo thing, it barely slips over it, but since it's glass and plastic, it like squeezes down and I could tighten it on there and it fits in there just like better than a can even fits, but it's real tight. Like shave, like if I might even sand it out because it's sandable. I might just sand around it one good time and take like a little layer off, and I think it'll fit perfect. But I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's our buddy.
What was his name?
And a listener who made us some Alamo 3D printed koozies, and it's they're just gorgeous. He did a wonderful job, and we really appreciate it.
You should make something that'll hold my cigarettes next. I don't smoke, but that'd be cool, like a cigarette holder with Alamo on it.
That would be kind of cool. Oh no, it's Manitoba, right?
Yeah, Manitoba.
Manitoba.
That would be something like an idea for merch, like old cigarette merch and stuff.
Well, either that or just a Manitoba shirt, would be awesome. Yeah.
Or we could do like luggage. We could do like Manitoba luggage or a surfboard. If this is Manitoba on it or something.
We need like a cartoon camel or something.
Yeah, cartoon camel. There you
go. Okay, so now we're at the building site. It's the next day. Hank is gathered around with these guys, kind of giving them the game plan on how they're going to build this house. It's Hank, Bill, Boomhauer, Dale, Joe Jack for some reason. And he says, okay, I put together a schedule which gives us 4 days to finish this house. The frame's a prefab, so we could build it in 2, but let's take 4 and really enjoy it. Bill says, since we're starting from scratch, why don't we make it a dream house and put the toilet in the living room?
That's not how that works.
He's got some sad dreams, man.
I've actually built a couple of Habitat for Humanity homes through the ROTC program that I was in high school. We used to do a house a year. We did it for 4 years, so I did a house a year for 4 years. Yeah, it was pretty fun. They don't let you do a whole lot, because you're just a bunch of high school kids. But we got to help out with like the framing process, and then we helped with the rebar for the driveway, tying off the rebar and all that. Just small stuff that high school kids could do, but it was still fun to be a part of the process. And then also in 2019, I had a bunch of community service that I had to do in a small amount of time. So I did it at the Habitat Humanity resale store. And then I got to go and see a bunch of the houses they were building. And I got to see the largest Habitat for Humanity house built in Waco, which was like a 2,200 square foot home for a lady who had 5 kids. So it was like she needed a big house, so they built her a big house. I thought it was pretty cool.
Is that the one over by 18th?
Yeah, probably so. It's a big one. Yeah, it's a really big one.
It's one of the first ones I can remember being like them making a big deal out of here in town.
Yeah, because it was big. They because of the size of it, they made a big deal about it. They always have something for the Habitat for Humanity houses, but they don't always make the news unless like unless the person getting a home is under some extreme special circumstances that are newsworthy. Or the house was so big. It might have been one of the biggest Habitat Humanity homes out throughout the whole Habitat for Humanity network. That's probably why I think they talked about it.
We've got a thing here in town called Restore. And I believe Restore is where it's the resale for Habitat for Humanity. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like donated stuff. That's where I did all my community service at. So people would pull up with a bunch of, whatever was left over from a project that they had that they didn't finish, whether it be paint, wood, fixtures, hardware, software, chairs.
Well, they also go in and like when they tear down houses and stuff, people will donate things because they can get a tax credit off of stuff they were going to throw away anyway, which is actually kind of nice. And if you go into one of these places, which I know all of you are not here in town with us, but you've got to have something like it where it feels good.
A lot of they're everywhere. Anywhere there's like a major city has one of those stores. So if you're in a major city in the United States, you probably have one of these stores too.
I'm just saying it does kind of feel good, knowing you're reusing some stuff rather than making something new, or taking.
I always go there first. Yeah, I always go there first for projects just because I've seen the stuff that gets donated and then I see the price that they sell it for. I know like they're getting stuff that's worth $600, $700, $800 and they're selling it for $100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was one thing. There was a rich person who had bought the wrong shower and it was a full blown like laser beams, like water from every angle, nook and cranny. Like it was a walk-in shower thing and retailed for like $4,500 and they donate it just because of a tax credit. And it was funny. The guy that did it looked like a Marlboro user. He looked like he looked like straight out of a trailer park, but it was this massive house on the river here in Chalk Bluff area. And he was a lottery winner. And he was like, I gotta have that receipt for the money man in Dallas. That's all I kept talking about the whole time was like, yeah, the money man in Dallas said I gotta make sure I get a receipt for all this. And I was just dying. I was like, this guy is rich as hell. You look at his garage and you could tell that he's just like an old like car guy, like working on cars in the garage kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
Those lottery winners, man, that's a whole different thing. Everybody wants to win the lottery, but nobody wants it once they got it.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's like, I got to call the money man anytime I got to do something. I got to call Dallas. I got to call Dallas. Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about all the lottery guys that are just dead in a year. You know, they win the money, and they party so hard that they either explode, or everybody that's ever known them comes out of the woodwork, and all of a sudden they got 50 cousins, you know, and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's bad news, honestly. More money.
Well, that's what that guy explained to us, was that if he wouldn't have put his money in somebody else's trust, that he would probably be broke himself. But he's got it to where his money is now making money for him, so he never has to work again. But he's got like a guy that manages every dime for him. He's got like an allotment, and they pay all his bills.
That's the only way to keep that money. You got to have somebody who's watching over it, and then you got to make sure they're trustworthy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Cotton pulls up while Peggy and Bobby are there, kind of watching. Peggy goes over to Cotton's as he gets out of the car and goes, "Oh, Cotton, I'm so glad you're here. If Hank asks me one more time, where's Cotton? Where's Cotton? Well, here's Cotton." And Hank overhears it, starts coming that way. Cotton says, "Brought my bayonet. Figured it was good enough to kill 50 men. It's good enough to cut some drywall." Hank says, "Well, gosh, Dad, I knew you were saving that for when they unfroze Hitler."
I thought it was Han Solo they froze.
Yeah, it's both. Yeah,
it's kind of funny. I was talking earlier about presidential movies and actors and things like that. There was a movie I'd never heard of before with Anthony Hopkins as Hitler called The Bunker, and
and
it's
old.
Yeah, it was an old one. Well, like I said, I've been on like a presidential like weird kick, and it had Anthony Hopkins as Hitler, and I have to say, almost as good as Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's a very good movie. Cotton says, "Yeah, well," and then he gets cut off because Hank sees Buck across there. "Hey, Buck, I saved the best nail pouch for you." Cotton gets pissed off because Buck just comes gallivanting in a taxi, and Hank just like cuts his conversation off with Cotton because honestly he's earned it, and goes over to talk to Buck. Buck gets out of the taxi and goes, "So this is going to be Arlen Pines. Didn't recognize the place without all the tombstones," which not great if you've seen Poltergeist. He looks over and goes, "Hey! Some of them people are stealing your tools." Hank says, "Oh, that's Allah and Nifko Lubicki."
That was kind of rough.
Allah and Nifko?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that. Nifko, maybe.
Allah and Nifko Lubecki. And the guy is wearing a sweatshirt, and all it says on it is "Sports Champion." Which
so
I need that shirt.
Yeah, so he's a refugee from an Eastern European country, Nifko, we find out. But so his sports clothing companies, at the end of a championship run. So say recently we just had the Mavericks and the Celtics. And so they make both runs. So whoever wins the championship stuff is ready that moment. So they do a run of both. So what ends up happening is all of the losers stuff that says champion 2024 or whatever, they send that stuff to overseas generally. So you'll see like a picture of some kid in a third world country, and he'll have, Dallas Mavericks 2024 basketball champions for the NBA, even though they didn't win. So I think that's what this shirt is joking. It's that same joke
Probably.
of, it's a sports champion and it's actually the loser or whatever.
I have a T-shirt in there that says Tennessee Titans Super Bowl champions on it, and it was one of the ones that they ran in '99 when they went to the Super Bowl. I was able to get my hands on one, and I don't remember how. But before they destroyed them or sent them or whatever. So
I'm sure there was a big collection niche for that, like the champion shirts.
I'd love to.
You could
I would
buy
love to have more of those,
You could buy, and if anybody wants to donate $200 so me and Mike could do this, you could get a big, huge, like 400 or 500 pound tote of retro clothing online in bulk. And what they do is a lot of it is all the surplus stuff that went to foreign markets and never did anything, and it somehow makes its way back to the United States. And then you buy these big, warehouse sized boxes full of it. And I think that would be funny. So if anybody wants to do that,
I know a guy here in town that at one point he had a warehouse full of all the stuff you use to stage houses. So like he had a bunch of the cardboard TVs and the big plastic turkeys, that sit, so it all looks
funny.
like it's like at a furniture store, that kind of stuff.
That's really niche. That's autistic. That's autistically niche. Yeah.
I wanted one of those plastic turkeys so bad. Okay. He says, no, that's Alia and Nifko Lubecki. You're building this house for them. I know they'd love to meet you. And Buck just goes, eh. And he pulls out a flask and just starts walking around drinking out of the flask. This is a guy that's trying to make up for a DUI.
Yeah.
But again, he got somebody else. He goes, and don't worry, sir. You'll be back behind the wheel as soon as I finish repaying your debt to society. And then it hits Buck, and he says, thanks, Hank. You really pulled my eggs out of the frying pan. Pats Hank on the back, and he goes, all right, listen, people. And he's addressing everybody on the build site. He goes, I got an announcement to make. I'm not one to give credit where credit is due.
At least you know, right?
He goes, but doggone it, this time I just can't help myself. Hank Hill has been my assistant manager for 20 years. In all that time, I've had 2 wives, dozens of mistresses, 5 heart valves, 3 plastic tooth peg, but I only needed 1 Hank. Merry Christmas, Hank. I'm promoting you to manager.
Oh, wow.
It's like Hank climaxed 9 times right there.
Oh, yeah. He nutted right then for sure.
It was he's like,
yeah.
He goes, manager, Mr. Strickland, and then it comes, I love you. And everybody on that job site, their mouth just gape. Because they're like, oh, God, this is not something you do. And that is our first commercial break. We'll take that, and we will be right back. And we love our sponsors.
Hi, it's Mike. Please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BWAAA. We only have 1 tier, and it's just $3 a month. This helps keep the lights on and keeps Rusty and I creating more content for our beautiful audience. Please consider donating at patreon.com/BWAAA. And in the immortal words of a Mr. Rusty Shackelford, you don't know who I am, but I know where you live. And if you donate to our Patreon, I will love you. Okay, so maybe that's not quite right, but you get the sentiment. That's patreon.com/BWAAA. And as always, we Matanier indeed.
All right, and we are back. We are now at the Hill House in the kitchen, and we've got Bobby and Peggy talking. Bobby says, why did Dad have to act like a woman in front of Grandpa? Grandpa hates women. That is a very the fact that Bobby picks up on that is fantastic.
Yeah, he's not dumb. He ain't dumb. You can't ever say Bobby's stupid.
Peggy is back behind him digging stuff out of a cabinet, and we realize that it's photo albums she's digging out. She says, your father is going out of his way to ruin his Christmas present, so we will have to go out of our way to save it. She digs out those photo albums, like I said. She hands one to Bobby. She takes one. She goes, we will make a photo calendar each and every month of a reminder of their special father-son bond. So they start looking through these albums, and Bobby comments on the fact that he can't find one with anybody happy. He goes, not happy, looks at a photo of Cotton, who looks genuinely insane, holding a very frightened little baby Hank. He goes on to the next picture. He goes, not happy. It is a picture of a deer that they've shot that's bleeding all over the top of the truck with, again, an almost insane looking Cotton next to probably a 10 or 12-year-old Hank.
Terrified Hank.
And he goes, can't even find one picture where they're both happy. Wait, here's one. And he hands a photo to Peggy, and he says, if you splice Grandpa's head over yours in the wedding photo, it'll look like Dad and Grandpa are shaking hands. So then they show the picture.
Yeah, that's a good one.
They show the picture, and it's at their friggin' wedding. Hank's on one side of the cake. She's on the other side of the cake in her wedding dress, and they're shaking hands instead of kissing.
Yeah, we'll have to make that as merch too. Sell mugs with that. That'll be a funny mug to sell.
Such a good one. And she goes, brilliant, and we'll put it on a mug, just like you said. Now we're back at the job site. Hank drives up, and all the guys are kind of gathered around laughing about something. Bill says, hey, Hank, we started without you. And then they look back at the concrete, and they have drawn a heart with an arrow through it, and it says Hank plus Buck in the concrete. So that's going to be there forever, right? Or at least till concrete's pulled up. Everybody starts laughing. You hear Boomhauer, dang old Hank Bugman, that old. And then Hank gets pissed. He goes, now you've gone too far. Cement is permanent. Well, And then Dale says, as permanent as your love? He goes, shut up, Dale. And then the poor refugee guy, he just goes, it's okay? Hank says, no, it is not, Nifko. My boss demoted me. I was manager for 10 seconds, and all I managed to do was blurt out my guts like a mental patient. I don't know where this stuff come from. Something must be wrong with me. And then Nifko gets a chance to say something. He says, Nifko, see, bad to say things one man to another man, but still, you much to be lucky for. Texas, USA, police no break down doors, say, come to Army now. Now you shot. Here, kids walk to school. It's good school. God bless you, builders of house and driveways. God bless America. Everybody just cheers. And then you get this building montage of Hank and Boomhauer drywalling together. Dale hishas his way into the frame, and he's got the nail gun, starts throwing nails through it. All the while, by the way, you've got the, I think it is, what's the guy? Famous guitar guy from Texas, died in a helicopter.
The Big Bopper? No.
Anyway,
Valens.
No, somebody's going to be so pissed at us that we can't remember this. But
Texas guitarist who died in an airplane.
It was a helicopter. Yeah.
You're talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yes, I believe it's either him or it's his brother, and the song is "House is a Rockin'." So it's like "House is a rockin', don't bother knock," that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's him. Yeah,
that's what this montage is set to. Then the next thing you see is Bill with a circular saw, and he looks like he's really determined. Hank comes up, gives him some goggles to put on, some safety goggles. Then it pans down, and you see that he's using the circular saw to cut a giant sub in half. And then the last shot is everybody standing there admiring the house. And Nifko looks at the house, and he's so overwhelmed with joy. He goes, Harley Davidson. Hank says, I think so too, Nifko. Harley Davidson. I'm just going to start saying that. I'm happy now.
Harley Davidson.
All right, so we're at the Hill House at night now. We're in the kitchen with Bobby. Peggy comes in and says, who would like a hot cup of love? Which sounds gross, number one, Peggy, especially to your son. And she shows him the mug, and the mug has that picture. She's taken Cotton's face and put it over her face in the wedding picture and changed nothing else. So
that's it. Yeah, just copy and paste.
It looks like Cotton is the same size she is and in a wedding dress, shaking hands with a very happy Hank Hill in a tuxedo. So, yeah, I would love to have that on a shirt or a mug. The phone rings, and from the other, and this encompasses my house growing up, by the way, this little interaction right here. The phone rings, the wall phone, the regular landline phone rings, and Hank from the other room goes, Peggy, phone. And he goes, oh, I got it. So why did you shout out that the phone is ringing? Number one, everybody knows the damn phone's ringing. Everybody can hear the phone.
Everybody. Those phones were loud.
And you got it. So I don't really understand that. But my dad used to do the same thing. And then every time he'd pick up the phone, it'd be yellow.
Yellow, yeah.
He goes, I got it. Hello. And then it's his dad on the other end. He goes, wow, hello, Mrs. Strickland. He goes, oh, hi, Dad. You see Cotton on the phone, and he's got a regular landline cord. He's got GH in his lap, and GH keeps trying to bite the cord and stuff. He's playing with the cord. He goes, I'm just calling to say you ain't welcome to Christmas dinner. Good day. And hangs up. I mean, that's the entire interaction.
That's rough.
Hank looks at Peggy and goes, my dad just uninvited me for Christmas. She goes, oh, Hank, honey, why don't you call him back and tell him how that makes you feel? He goes, absolutely not. You saw what happened when I emoted all over Buck. Might want to check that.
That's a pretty good one. I like that, though.
He goes, no. It'll be okay. We'll just have Christmas dinner with the Nefkos over at the new house. By the way, Nefko is the guy's first name, correct? And he he keeps calling them the Niefkos, but that's the first name.
That's his first name, though. Yeah.
He goes, we'll just have Christmas dinner with the Niefkos over at their new house. Yep, it'll be a great new tradition. Christmas with the Niefkos.
Which it should be Christmas with the Lubeckis, because that's their last name is Lubecki.
Right,
yeah.
It's the Lubeckis, but he keeps calling them Niefkos. All right, so now we start at Casa Linda Apartments. Of course, if anybody knows, that's where Dee Dee and Cotton and GH live. Peggy and Dee Dee are sitting on the couch drinking tea, which is odd to me. GH is across the room in a swing, and Peggy, of course, starts the conversation. Dee Dee, we are the wives of stubborn men. They're lucky to have us, aren't they? And this is Dee Dee. Not very often does Dee Dee get poignant, but right now she just says, "What do you want, Peggy?" I mean, just like, she's just like, "Okay, just cut to the chase. Let's go."
Let's go. Yeah.
Peggy says, "I want Cotton to re-invite Hank to Christmas dinner." "Oh, Cotton will not do that because Hank is too cruel." He goes, "No, Dee Dee, Cotton's the cruel one. Hank is the one who sells propane." She says, "But Hank is cruel. He said he loved Buck. He should say he loves Cotton. And that's just not what I think. It's what Cotton told me to think." She says, "Cotton is jealous, but that is a human emotion. That little 4-foot mush ball." So
I like that.
Once again, Peggy, I think, probably sees more of herself in Cotton than anybody else.
I think so, yeah. I think
every once in a while, she catches Cotton and goes, "Oh, he's all right." So we're at the new house.
She's the only one, because I think they match on that shitty wavelength. They like connected on that level of like, oh, he's a piece of shit, I'm a piece of shit. So I think that's how they relate.
Yeah, it's the one. I think we've already covered this one where they go and pick out his plot and all that stuff, and
yeah, that's the one where he helps her get back to walking again after she falls from the airplane.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. We're at the new house that's being built. There's Christmas lights all over it. Up at the top, it says "Merry Christmas" and lights. And Hank says, "Now, I'm not sure if it's a guest or the man of the house." It says Grace, but I got the English, so I'll take the wheel. It's Hank, Peggy, Bobby, and the Niefkos. And then you hear this bam, 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 banging on the door. Hank answers the door. Cotton and Dee Dee are standing there. "Dad?" He goes, "Looking for this?" Or I'm sorry, Peggy says, "Looking for this?" And she hands Dee Dee GH. So the baby has been there all along, which is nuts to me.
That's wild. Yeah, that's extreme.
And then followed by this sentence from Cotton. "Well, you told me you left GH sleeping in a bag of hammers." What? In a bag of hammers?
That's bad. Yeah.
How could you trick me like that? You ain't bright. She goes, "Peggy told me how." Hank says, "Why did you invite my dad here? You're ruining our new holiday tradition, Christmas with the Niefkos." Peggy says, "Cotton, how would you like to stay here and join us for Christmas dinner?" And then Cotton, like a dog, sniffs the air and goes, "Well, something smells good. Could be turkey. Probably fresh particle board." Dee Dee and Peggy exchange looks, and Dee Dee basically pushes him through the door and says, "Well, that is a beautiful story, Colonel, but not as beautiful as this house. Don't you think this house is beautiful, Cotton?" Cotton looks around, and he's starting to soften here,
a little bit. Yeah, he's getting there.
Yeah, everybody's around. It's Christmas. He's starting to come around. He goes, "It's okay. I like the job you did on the drywall." I mean, that's a huge thing for Cotton.
Huge compliment. Yeah.
He goes, "Well, thanks, Dad. I took a risk and went with the National Gypsum instead of the Georgia Pacific. I hope Buck doesn't mind."
Oh, no.
That turns Cotton, and he goes, "Buck."
He almost had it. He was almost in there, Hank. You almost had it.
Buck. Of course he's going to mind. Look at this rat box. It ain't got no doorstop. Someone opens the door too hard, and he literally goes to the front door, opens it so hard that it knocks a hole in the wall, fresh drywall. And he goes, "Hole in the wall." He goes, "Dad, stop. It's not finished yet." He says, "I don't see no chair rail. You know what that means?" Man stands up from his chair too fast. He goes over, grabs one of the folding chairs, and smacks it into the wall, creating another hole, just tearing shit up for no reason.
Destroying stuff.
Then you hear Peggy. She says, "Oh, come on, Hank. Tell your father what you told your boss. Tell him what you tell your stupid dog every day. Give that miserable old man the gift of love for Christmas." And then Cotton once again, this hanging lamp don't look like it could hold a man's weight. And this is out of view. We just know now that Cotton is hanging from the damn ceiling light. And you hear Bobby say, Grandpa, be careful. And you hear bang. And then Cotton storms off with the chair in his hand. Hank says, come on, Dad, please stop. Peggy says, if you want him to stop, just tell him how you feel. Back to Cotton. That window looks awful flimsy. And he threatens to break the window over the sink with another chair. Hank and Peggy come in. He goes, Dad. She goes, you can do it, Hank. He goes, Dad, I hate you. And this is, I don't know that Hank, this is building in Hank for a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely like a climax.
Hank's not one of those guys that will ever say hate to anybody, though. Like it's such a big word to him. Saying you hate something, it's flipping a switch. Dislike is one thing, hate is another thing.
It's not something Hank generally says. Like we've discussed before, he's generally a tactful person who, before he says things, he thinks about what he says. He's usually a thoughtful person, but it's kind of odd seeing him kind of fly off the handle. You know what I mean?
Well, he's had enough. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him either. So when he says, Dad, I hate you, everybody is just shocked once again. It's kind of like the opposite of when he told Buck that he loved him. He throws everybody out, barricades the door with a nail gun, and they're all outside now looking at the house. And you hear from Yefko, he goes, it's okay? And then,
it's okay. No, it's not okay, buddy.
It's not okay. You see Cotton inside now, and he's like, you hate me, do you? After all the love I allowed your mother to give you, well, Merry Christmas and stay out. Tell Santa Claus to hurry. This place ain't going to have a chimney for long. And then you see the Merry Christmas lights just go out over the top of the house, and you hear banging and rustling and stuff, and that Cotton's in there just tearing shit
up.
That is our second commercial break. We'll take that real quick, and we will be right
back.
Hey, Rusty.
Yeah, what's up, Mike?
Let's do a new show.
Yeah, it's time.
It's called Swimmer's Ear. It's all about Adult Swim.
Have you ever had pool water in your ear?
I've had a lot of water in my ears.
I've watched a lot of Adult Swim, so if we're talking metaphorically, I've had a lot of dirty, stinky, gross pool water in my ear.
It's a great way to start this. That's wonderful. Yeah. So what we're going to do in this new show called Swimmer's Ear is we're going to break down some of the stuff that's happened over the years on Adult Swim. We'll follow some of the series. We'll follow some of the original content. So, for instance, unedited footage of a bear, too many cooks.
There's a lot of the infomercials, the ones that you're talking about. There's like a series of them.
Yeah.
So we'll go over all that
Yule Log.
Yule Log's one of them. That's one of their infomercials. We'll go through all of these weird little things as well as some of the bigger IPs such as home videos and all the stuff from Squiggle Vision, that made it over there, Dr. Katz, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Metalocalypse.
That's my one, man, Aqua Teen. All right, so join us each week. We'll be breaking down some stuff on Adult Swim. Some of it in order, some of it not, just like Adult Swim. Join us. We are the guys from Bois. King of the Hill podcast, and we'll be in your ears with this one as well.
Yeah, so welcome to the second podcast in the Bois universe.
You got it. You can find Swimmer's Ear anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com.
Don't forget to take your Claradrill.
See our ad in Tables and Chairs magazine.
All right, and we are back. We had left everybody outside with the exception of Dee Dee, GH, and Cotton. They're inside. Cotton has barricaded the door in this house that's being built for humanity. And he is in there tearing shit up because he can't stand the fact that Hank told him he hates him and the fact that Hank told Buck that he loves him. So we're seeing a softer side of Cotton in a way. But when he gets soft, he tears shit up. So you see, Cotton,
he's a very emotionally unstable. What do they call him? Mushball.
Absolutely. We're outside the new house with Nyefko's. Cotton is screaming inside the house. Peggy turns to Hank and goes, Hank, you don't really hate your father. These are just bigger emotions than you're used to expressing. You got confused. Why don't you go inside and apologize? I also left my purse in there. Yeah, that's the thing, Peggy. Once again, that's the shitty thing.
He goes, Peggy, because that's the only reason why she wanted him to go in there, obviously.
That's it. That and the Christmas present that she's already tried to devise. Hank says, I am not apologizing. I meant what I said. And then Bobby says, you can't really hate your dad. He's your dad. And Hank says, yeah, well, there's nothing anywhere that says a father and son have to like each other, let alone love each other.
Which is kind of like that's like saying that's a Bobby's kind of fucked up, I think, because Bobby has struggles with his dad too, and I don't think Hank realizes that.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. It's in the heat of the moment kind of thing, and Bobby is completely shocked. The most shocked I've ever seen people.
He's not a fan of that. He doesn't like what his dad just said.
We've had so many shocking moments in this episode. It's more so than ever,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Bobby, he gets sad.
It's an emotional episode, both directions.
It is. He gets sad. He's just walking around on the job site. He goes off kicking a can because that's what you do when you're sad, apparently. He kicks it real hard one time, and it goes up and it hits a door of a house that's already built. And the lights come on. And from behind the door, you hear, you can just leave the wontons out there. And then he says something in Chinese. He opens the door, and he goes, oh, you're not from the noodle house. And Bobby says, no, but I wish I was. Chinese people don't have Christmas. The guy that comes out has the initials JC on his overalls.
Yeah,
we all see him as Jimmy Carter. We understand
Jimmy Carter. But his role, though. Yeah,
but it is Christmas. It is Christmas, so we also thank Jesus Christ, which I've heard it's his birthday that day. And so he sits down on the steps with Bobby, and he goes, what's wrong, little boy? He goes, my dad and grandpa are fighting. Even if I get the Benny Hill tapes I asked for, it'd still be the worst Christmas ever. So he asked for Benny Hill VHS tapes.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
He goes, land sakes, a family fighting at Christmas? That's not right. Why don't I try talking to him? So Jimmy Carter was well known for his peace talks.
Yeah, Yasser Arafat and Ariel Sharon
and Netanyahu and all those. I mean, he talked to a lot of those people, and his
big thing was Egypt and Israel. That was one of the big things that he did during his career, and that was one of the things that a lot of the voting people didn't really. They wanted him to be a president and not a diplomat.
He kept the peace in the Middle East for a while. That's not a place that's always going to be peaceful, though, unfortunately, as we're seeing these days. Anyway, he says, why don't I try talking to him? Bobby says, no offense, sir, but you couldn't even talk your way out of working on Christmas Eve, which he's got a point. Jimmy Carter says, I may just be a carpenter, but I'm often called upon to resolve disputes. He took my drill. That guy swiped my caulk, and so on. So also remember in the Bible, Jesus was a carpenter. So we're seeing all kinds of parallels here. Jesus Christ and Jimmy Carter. Bobby says, well, you do have a very soothing accent, which he's right. He goes, we'll take my car. And he points at the car, the Secret Service all around it and everything. And Bobby goes, wow, you must be some carpenter.
Yeah.
Bobby's not real quick on the uptake, but he's a good kid. So they drive up to the Nefko's house. My question on the papers I'm holding here in my hand are, how freaking far did Bobby go if they have to drive back?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Yeah,
that kid was sad.
Far.
That kid was super sad because he
walked a long way. Yeah, he walked all the way to Jimmy Carter's house in South Georgia, somewhere in South Georgia.
Can into it. So they drive up. Bobby gets out. He goes, I think we may be able to get Dad his presents after all, thanks to this nice old guy. And he points to the car. Jimmy Carter gets out. He says, Bobby says, I'm going to get back in the limo. I got Joseph on hold. So he's
already hanging out.
Well, again, they drove back to the place. They've been in there long enough for Bobby to get on the phone and put Joseph on hold. It's been a while. Peggy comes up and goes, oh, my God, Jimmy Carter. And she holds out her hand and shakes it. She goes, I am Bobby's mother, Peggy Hill. I teach a short unit on your presidency, which is kind of an insult, but I think she meant it okay. Jimmy says, teaching is one of our most noble professions. And she goes, well, thank you for your honesty. They could not take that away from you.
Which is true. Yeah, he was so honest. That's the reason why he was never president again.
He looks over at Hank and goes, "You must be Hank." He goes, "Oh, you ran our country, America." And I mean, he takes that pause and accentuates the word America like crazy. Jimmy says, "Hank, I understand you told your father you hate him." He goes, "Hate's a strong word, Mr. President. That's why I used it." "Yep, hate my dad." He's just like, "Yep, hate my dad." Now that it's out, it's pretty cathartic, I would imagine.
Yeah, I imagine, yeah.
Jimmy says, "You may say you hate your daddy, but I seem to recall the Egyptians once saying they would never accept Israel's right to exist. Now, I think we all know how that turned out. Now, why don't we go inside and talk things over?" Hank says, "I'm not going in there. I hate the man. Feels good every time I say it." I mean, he's really using this now that he's got it out. Jimmy goes up to the door, knocks on it, and goes, "Mr. Hill?" And from inside, you hear Cotton go, "Jimmy Carter?"
Like you could recognize him by his voice. Yeah, he watches enough TV. He probably watches nothing but like politically oriented television.
He just knows him from behind the door. He goes, "Yes, this is Jimmy. Now, how about I come inside and visit with you about what happened with your son?" He goes, "I'd love to meet a war hero face to face." He comes in, but he's got his hands up. And, of course, he has to assume the position so he can be frisked by Cotton. Cotton says, "Assume the position, Mr. President." He goes, "Oh, there's no need for that. I've been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize." But right about then, that's when Cotton finds a little revolver stuck in Jimmy Carter's shoe. Yeah. And so he pulls out and holds it up to him and goes, "Look, Secret Service didn't want me to come in here at all. This was a compromise." Cotton says, "I'd have done the same if I was in your shoes. Same idea, bigger gun." Holds up that nail gun. He goes, "Good. Something we can agree on. Let's build on that. Why do you think your son said he hates you?" He says, "He's a hateful crybaby. He was crying the second he popped his head out of his mama." So later, this is a weird like time shift that they do here. But later outside, Jimmy's talking to Hank and he says, "Like I told your father, in these highly charged situations, I find it's helpful to say something positive about the other side. Sadat, for example, thought that the other guy had excellent posture." Hank says, "Yeah, what'd my dad say about me?" He goes, "Why don't you go first?" And then we kind of shift in time back to when he was talking to Cotton. And he goes, "Come on, deep down, just between you and me, I won't tell anyone. You don't really hate your son." He goes, "Yes, I do." He goes, "But you don't, head to toe." "No, really." And his wife, he goes, "And his wife." He goes, "Look, he was a baby once." He goes, "Everyone hated that baby." He said, "Hated a baby? Okay, how about this? Say there was a magic button you could push that would make Hank disappear forever. Everything else in the world would stay the same, but Hank, your son, would never have existed. Now, I'm serious here, mister. Would you push the button?" He thinks about it for a second. He goes, "I ain't got to answer no hypothetical situation." He says, "Would you push that button?" He finally goes, "Not yes." So he can't even say no to that. He can say not yes. So I guess that could still be a maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that other name that you skipped.
Yeah.
I would have skipped it too because I wasn't sure about that. That is Begin is his actual name. It was he's a prime minister of Israel from 77 to 83. His name was Menachem Begin. I think is how you pronounce that. Is Begin.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. So I skipped it and then you pointed it out, but that's fine. So now we're back to the president outside. Hank says, "My father said he wouldn't obliterate me." His words? Hank will take anything at this point.
Yeah.
Jimmy says, "Now
that's better than I love you, maybe."
Jimmy says, "Now, do you recognize his right to exist?" And Hank nods. He goes, "Wonderful." So he thinks he's really making some headway here. Yeah, now back inside, you see him talking to Cotton again. He says, "You both seem to prefer a universe in which the other party hasn't magically disappeared. I think we have a framework for peace. Now, how do you feel about going outside?" Cotton kind of looks out the window. He sees Hank out there, and he goes, "I still got some nails left." He goes, "If you come outside, I'll let you shoot at my bulletproof limo." I mean, those are the magic words. Those are magic words for him.
They got him moving, yeah.
Yeah, both of them come outside. Cotton still has a nail gun. Nefko's run back inside and shut the door real quick. All I thought at that point was, well, Dee Dee and the baby are still in there, but okay. now they're both on either side of Jimmy Carter. So you got Hank on one side, Cotton on the other side. Jimmy Carter says, Hank, Cotton, and I see a new era of trust and understanding between you. And he starts to put their hands together to shake them. Cotton pulls his hand back real quick and goes, not so fast, Chompers. The reason they call him Chompers is they used to make fun of Jimmy Carter's teeth because he had big teeth.
Oh, yeah, I've never heard that one before, yeah.
He goes, we had a deal. I gets to shoot me a bulletproof motorcade. He goes, I think you got more important things to do right now than shoot up my car. No, I don't. He goes, look, you're not shooting up my car. And Hank steps in and he goes, now hold on. Dad, did he really tell you could shoot up his car? With my nail gun. He goes, this is true, sir. Talking to Carter. Carter goes, well, I think I may have put it on the table, but it seems to me the important thing is, Hank says, I'm sorry. You gave your word. And so Cotton just begins shooting the damn car with his nail gun. And then he hits a window and shatters it and just goes, oops. And then this strikes Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter is now stunned. And he goes, they told me it was bulletproof. Let's get the heck out of here. And so they all get in the limo and take off. Hank looks at his dad and goes, that nail gun's pretty accurate for what's it running at? 175 PSI? 180. That sounds about right. Boy, I love shooting a nail gun. Hank says, I love shooting a nail gun too. So honestly, that's like them saying they love each other.
Yeah, not so many words.
Bobby says, that was amazing. Dad and Grandpa don't hate each other. The Lebeckis got most of their house back, all because Jesus showed up. And Peggy says, Bobby, what are you talking about? He goes, that guy, a carpenter. He worked in Miracles. His name was JC, rode in a limo. He goes, him? And they both kind of start laughing, Hank and Cotton. Hank says, you thought that was, and then Cotton says, well, he's nobody but a one-terming peanut farmer. And Hank says, oh, he wore a sweater. It's amazing to me that that's what they called people out on at that point. You know, the fact that the president wore
a sweater.
And he goes, and then Cotton says, henpecked by the OPEC. So the big deal with Jimmy Carter when he was in office is that people said he gave in to OPEC too much, and that's why we had an oil crisis. Honestly, if we had continued down the road that Carter was going, it would have been a better thing for us in the long run because, the times would have been tough because they were trying to get in line for gas and all that kind of stuff. But at some point, we would have weaned ourselves off of the oil from the Saudis and from Middle East, and we wouldn't have the problems we have today.
We would have more domestic production at that time. The problem was at that time, a lot of domestic production wasn't happening, and the oil fields were dying at that time because we had shifted all of our money to buying from OPEC, and OPEC artificially controlled the market and slowed production at that time during Jimmy Carter's presidency. And when they slowed down production, it caused all of our gas prices to shoot through the roof. And that's a part of the reason why we don't have, he didn't have a second term too.
Yeah, when it starts hitting people's wallets, that's usually when they get pissed off.
Yeah, they start complaining, even though it has nothing to do with the president.
Doesn't bode well for Biden this time. The only thing that goes well for him is we got a felon on the other side, so we'll see what the hell happens. But he says henpecked by OPEC, and then Peggy gets the last word. She looks at Bobby and says, "And Bobby, that is how I saved Christmas."
Whoa,
she's a terrible person.
She put the cherry on the top of shit on that one. Yeah.
And it pans up and you see the Merry Christmas lights come back on and we get the credits and that is it. After the credits, we do get Buck saying, no, thank you. And that is it. So that is season 6, episode 4, 6ABE04, the Father, the Son, and JC, December 16th, 2001.
That's it.
There we go. We did it.
Yeah, no, we
even though we're not in the studio. Hey,
recording.
You want to tell people where they can find us?
Yeah, you can find us at bwaakoth.com. That's BWAAAKOTH at gmail.com if you want to send us an email, and all other social media at BWAAAKOTH. You can also find us on YouTube at that same handle, BW3A's AAAKOTH.
You got it. That's exactly right. Also, make sure you check out the Monday episodes on Spotify if you can, or on YouTube. The video's there either way. Everywhere else, we're on audio. If you can, head over to Patreon, look us up, BWAAA, and help us out. There's a $3 a month tier there that just helps us kind of keep the lights on. If you can do that, that would be wonderful. We'd love it. Let's see. God, I think that's it, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. It doesn't feel right being here instead of being in the
it feels
studio.
different. Yeah, it feels different.
Yeah, but we got it done, and that's great. And hopefully you guys have a chance to listen to it and love it. And we'll be back in the studio next week, God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Oui, Matanye.
Oui, Matanye, indeed.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.